We bring you greetings. The Kebzeh group in Vernon, BC. And more than greetings, we bring you congratulations and best wishes for your festival and for all the activities that you have planned during that festival. My name is Joan McIntyre, and I'm the administrative head of the Vernon group here. We are so happy to be in contact with you and want you to know how grateful we are for all the work that you are doing and for the year of Marat Yegan. Each of us has a little something to say, and so we'll begin that right now.
Hello to our friends in the Caucasus. My name is Bob Wilson, and along with all of us here, it's a great privilege to speak with you today. Our dear beloved Marat Yegan told us that the most important thing that we can develop is a sense of community. It's important to have a good teacher, a valid teaching, interested students, but the most important thing and the most difficult thing is community. It's like a wonderful living soil that beautiful plants can grow in. When I first met Marat, I was taken by the extraordinary qualities of this man as being a real human being. And I'd seen very few people like him before. And I came to realize that much of his uniqueness and wonderful qualities came from what he had inherited and developed from his life with his family in the Caucasus. And so we honor you because you're able to live in this circumstance and you're able to keep this teaching alive and to help it bloom in new and wonderful forms of your lives. So God bless you, dear friends, and have a wonderful time together.
Thank you, Bob. Это доставляет мне огромное удовольствие обращаться к вам, мои дорогие друзья, по-русски. Меня зовут Люси Фельдман, и мое сердце абсолютно переполнено радостью, когда я думаю о вас. Когда я думаю о вас, друзьях, которые идут по тому же пути, что мы идем здесь. Я очень глубоко надеюсь, что в течение этого фестиваля вы сделаете шаг, подойти ближе и ближе, чтобы найти то, что вы ищете. И я молюсь, что все люди на этой земле будут идти по пути, чтобы найти это сокровище, которое живет в сердце каждого человека. Всего вам самого высокого, самого лучшего, самого глубокого. И я надеюсь, что в недалеком будущем мы сможем с вами встретиться. Всего доброго.
We remember Marat together and are so grateful that you are honoring Marat in such a way. For all the years that we knew him, he longed to have his teaching returned to the Caucasus, where it came from your ancestors, and who knows, from our ancestors. We share that ancestral heritage. Many of us come from a Celtic tradition, and the Celts have been traced to the Black Sea, to the foot of the Caucasus Mountains. We send you the very best. We know that this teaching helps one to live life as a work of art, what greater accomplishment could there be? We send our love.
Hello, my name is Susan Mearns. I want to wish all the best for the festival that's honoring our beloved Murat, his tradition and his teaching. Our hearts are with all of you in gratitude, so much gratitude. Thank you for all your work.
And I add my voice to my brothers and sisters here and send you love from us, and with extreme gratitude, gratefulness, honor, and reverence, we thank you for picking up the baton, for embracing this teaching in Murat Yegan. It fills our hearts to know that this tradition lives on, and you are the ones to be carrying that torch.
My name is Wayne Wilson. I'm a member of this Kebzeh community, and on behalf of myself and my wife and those of us that couldn't be here this evening, I would like to extend my greetings and best wishes for your conference. We put together something that I'll be reading shortly, which we hope will give you a better picture of Murat. At least a picture from what we remember, and we hope that it adds to your knowledge of this gentleman who is so special. In Volume 2 of the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding, which Murat loved, Jesus questioned why people couldn't see from his viewpoint. He did his best to teach and demonstrate the truth, yet still he was surrounded, and is still surrounded, with the murk and the mire of superstition and mystery. As he stated, "Why do you not lift your eyes and thoughts above these and see with a clear vision?" It should not be surprising then that Murat, who had Jesus as his point of contact, held the vision of a revolution in education in North America, as well as to rekindle this ancient tradition back in the Caucasus. However, he often wondered whether conventional religious conditioning could be overcome in order to accomplish this. Murat was extremely thorough, and he was always interested not only in how to make something happen, but also in why it happened, because otherwise, he said, the intellect would not be satisfied, and it would continually pester him with its doubts, fears, and questions. He accepted his mission in this earthly existence portion of his eternal life, not as a prophet who comes to pass on their message to the masses, but rather as a saint who he saw as a person with the go-ahead to work at the esoteric level with a chosen group of elite ones. Whether we realize it or not, we are those fortunate elite. Over the years, I have come to realize in myself how much of a challenge it is to overcome this conventional religious conditioning. For example, it is worth noting how his definition of a saint differs significantly from the conventional Christian understanding of what a saint is. They see it as a person of exceptional holiness, formally recognized by the Christian Church, a person of great virtue and benevolence, a founder or patron as of a movement. This latter is really the only portion of the definition that seems to more accurately focus on Murat. A conventional Christian belief also considers what constitutes a person of great virtue. Such a person is seen as exhibiting the conformity of one's life and conduct to moral and ethical principles. And of course, these are based on their principles: moral excellence, rectitude, chastity, and virginity. Now, rectitude has to do with morally correct behavior and righteousness. It is interesting to note that self-righteousness is one of the main components that we see as making up lower self in our tradition. Also, the conventional viewpoint in society today always deals with extremes: good or bad, right or wrong, black or white, seldom with what is appropriate to the occasion. Marat certainly and absolutely did not conform to this definition of saint. I believe all of us who spent all these years with him would agree. He was a rascal of the first degree, even though he was certainly an example of great love. Therefore, if one wants to gain a better understanding of this tradition, one of the first and most important aspects of study needs to be the glossary of terms, because they are often significantly different from what we have been conditioned to believe by traditional religious understanding. Marat always did his best, but as he also told us, sometimes one's best is not good enough. On one occasion, when he was questioning whether he had made any useful inroads of understanding with the members of our community, he had a visitation by representatives of the Source at his Imperial Ridge home, who told him he should not be discouraged and to keep going. I, along with my wife, were fortunate to be among the first to arrive at approximately 4:30 that morning and taped his emotional remembrance of his experience. As I mentioned before, Marat's first impression of North Americans when he and his family settled here was that we were socially filled with distractions, band-aid solutions, fast food, and quick fixes. He was correct in this assessment. However, this was in the 1960s, and it was the beginning of the information age. Now, much of the world can be described in this way, and Marat realized this. So before he passed, he put together a synopsis regarding the most important areas that needed to be focused on and what we need to become fluent with if we hope to climb higher on the ladder of consciousness. He entitled this distilled version of the main aspects regarding our tradition of Kebzeh as The Secret. He states, in a nutshell, the secret of Kebzeh is learning to become the creative force in your own life. It is possible by the practical application of the following laws. 1. All 7 levels of the acquisition of knowledge. 2. The phenomenon of cumulative effect, memory. 3. Any kind of consciousness creates an alchemical product peculiar to it in the nerve ends of the human nervous system, and vice versa, from the nerve ends to consciousness, and so on. The binder that contains this information is not solely made up of components from our tradition, but includes different segments from different authors and teachings that are like-minded to ours, allowing us to be exposed to the same truths, but explained and approached from different angles. It should be understood, however, that this condensed format does not shortcut in any way the work or effort required by us in order to raise our consciousness. It simply acknowledges today's preferences for concise, right to the point explanations. Now, this approach also has drawbacks, because as we had often been chastised by Marat for reading very superficially, it often leads to misunderstanding or missing the point, rather than a slower, more comprehensive approach, which is necessary if we hope to gain a thorough understanding regarding a spiritual topic. He wrote this final chapter for us, recognizing our tendency to not have the patience needed to read and study long, in-depth descriptions rather than getting straight to the point. We have, in addition to our books, hundreds of transcripts and hundreds of tapes dedicated to understanding the truth of how this spiritual teaching works. I believe that Marat wanted to convey in the binder he entitled The Secret was to emphasize the most important objective for a human existing on this material plane, which is to realize, come to know, and utilize our oneness with all creation. Ultimately, we can't teach it if we haven't reached it. But as he said shortly before he passed, some of us are ripe, but we just don't know it. Of course, we are all in connection already. Otherwise, we will not be alive in these vehicles we call our bodies. The problem is that we have mistakenly identified ourselves with the personality of our lower selves, instead of with the essence, which is the creative power out of which everything stems and which manifests itself within us as what is called higher self, Christ within, or Marja. In order to accomplish our objective, we have to first become aware of higher self through coming to know about it, as well as learning all about lower self and its tendencies. In order to do this, it is not sufficient to just know about higher self. We need to experience higher self. It can be accomplished through different avenues: meditation, breath, or physical exercises. These are important, but not as important as the necessity for us to live our lives from this perspective, or we will not obtain our objective. This is where the levels of knowledge come into play. This is also where we need to know and make use of the natural laws, such as cumulative effect and acting as if. The whole area of alchemy was one of Marat's main focuses. He attempted to drive deeply into our minds, so much so that he felt it was important that we try to memorize the explanation of our alchemical nature. He states, any manifestation of any act or phenomenon of consciousness by any element or member belonging to the field of creation, inanimate or animate, insect, fish, bird, animal, or human, creates at the neural end of the nervous system of this being a biochemical composite characteristic of this consciousness, and in fact, indicator of this consciousness, which, if produced by any other means at the neural end of the nervous system of this being, creates the corresponding consciousness in that being to be the indicator of this biochemical composite. This interactive phenomenon is contagious within a smaller or greater radius throughout the whole universe, the dimension of the said radius having a potential to cover the whole universe in the case of the subject being a human. It is also a fundamental and one of the most important scientific laws of nature, which makes possible the application of the science of Amos to Kebzeh to transform all creatures to enhance their species. Two main laws of nature are instrumental in manifesting this law: the law of cause and effect, and the law of imitation engenders the truth. Let me clarify it further with an example. If we experience any feeling, thought, or emotion, such as joy, love, happiness, worry, anger, depression, jealousy, envy, resentment, satisfaction, or disappointment, a biochemical matter with a precise chemical composition peculiar to this consciousness will be produced at the cellular level in our nervous system. On the other hand, if by any other means we can insert this same chemical in our nerve cells, we shall experience the same corresponding consciousness. The two other related instrumental laws of nature mentioned above enable us to handle this electrochemical phenomenon: the law of cause and effect, effect cause, and the law of imitation engenders the truth. If we are seekers of who we really are and why we are here, the answers to these questions are available. And ultimately, the answers we seek will be found within us, not outside of us. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Matthew 7:7. Each of us is unique. There has never been anyone like us in the past, nor will there be anyone in the future. All of us have different ports of entry to our intellectual mind, and if one is observant and tactful, we can be successful in getting our point across or in persuasion without causing offense. However, when it comes to connecting, unlocking, and activating our higher self, only we have the combination that can accomplish this. That is why the Sufi poet Kebzeh encourages us to make yourself your homework and solve it. Or as Jesus stated in Matthew 22:14, "For many are called, but few are chosen." And as Marat reminded us, we are always the ones who choose. I will conclude with another portion of Jesus' talk in Volume 2 of the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. When you know that the Christ is the fitting life within the form, the rising energy that the scientist glimpses, yet does not know where it came, when you feel with the Christ that the life is lived, so that life may be given freely, when you learn that man is obliged to live by the constant dissolution of forms, and that the Christ lived to give up the living that the body of sense craved, for the good that he could not at the moment enjoy, you are the Christ. When you see yourself a part of the greater life, but willing to sacrifice yourself for the good of the whole, when you learn to do right without being affected by the outcome to help, when you learn freely to give up the physical life and all that the world has to give, this is not self-abnegation or poverty. For as you give of God, you will find you have more to give. Although at times duty may seem to demand all that life has to give. You will also know that he who will save his life shall lose it. Then you will see that the pure gold is at the deepest part of the furnace, where the fire has fully cleansed it. You will find great joy in knowing that the life you have given to others is the life you have won. You will know that to receive is to give freely, that if you lay down the mortal form, a higher life will prevail. You have the glad assurance that a life thus won is one for all, and all for one. Thank you. On behalf of our Kebzeh community here in Vernon, I would like to wish you all the very highest and the best in your accomplishments and in your future hopes to raise yourself to your inheritance of being true human beings.